It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right. It is the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com, where we have are split it up again this week because we're here on a Wednesday evening where the Sooners have just clinched their trip into the College World Series Championship Series. We're doing this in the middle of the Ole Miss and Arkansas game. Right now, Arkansas's got a 2-1 lead, and everyone hoping that Arkansas wins tonight. So both these teams play again tomorrow and use up a lot more pitching. But the Sooners win it today 5-1. We go live now to Omaha, Nebraska, where Mr. Big J journalist Eddie Radosevich has been doing a fantastic job covering the series for Soonerscoop.com. And by the way, go subscribe. Go to Soonerscoop.com. Subscribe. You can be monthly, annual, whatever. We're doing it up for you. So would appreciate any support as we keep covering sports like this on the road. And Eddie, as the boss man, not the biggest fan because it means I got to spend a lot more money, but basically you got nothing to do until Saturday now.
No, it's incredible. I truly, like, if you would have told me like mid-April, and I know that we talked about this like last Wednesday, even when I got up here, that they would even be getting to the College World Series, I would have said that you were probably a little crazy. And to say that, now we're sitting here literally a week later and they're literally playing for a national championship. I mean, it's truly been incredible. Pitching's been unbelievable. David Sandlin, on Wednesday against Texas A&M in the bracket final, he was better than Cade Horton was on Sunday. And I didn't think that we would see another performance like Cade Horton put together on Sunday. So yeah. It's been an incredible run. I mean, everything that they do right now, Carey, it works out. Like every single move that this team makes right now, they get caught stealing, they still end up scoring a run in that inning. I mean, right. It just like the whole thing is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it without saying like this team, it feels pretty special what they're putting together right now. And, just the things that they've said, the things that we've talked about, and the things that we've wrote about from up here, it's just kind of storybook the way that everything has come together, and it's been a lot of fun. Well, and it's the first time, obviously everybody knows the year 1994, 25 guys pulling on the same rope, special team that year. I think it was Chip Glass was the leadoff guy on that team that was just raking it all over the field that year. And I mean, Jimmy Crooks has been that guy. I mean, he's been the hero offensively. Peyton Graham, I mean, he had a rough day today. I mean, it is obvious that teams are like, yeah, do not throw him any fastballs. Like, do not give this guy, like, you've got to throw him off speed stuff. You've got to junk it up. And, for as much love as Cade Horton was getting, Peyton Graham's been getting a lot of the same love on the broadcast, but after today, you're like, okay, first round pick? It's like, can he hit it a curveball? I mean, the crazy thing is he still extended his hitting streak to 17 games. Yeah. I mean, he had a double in the first inning and then came around and scored. So I think he struck out every time after that. He was on base twice, though. The double came into the third inning. But he's been awesome. The thing that I think has really gone under the radar with Peyton Graham, and everybody's looks at what he does offensively, he's turned into a really, really good shortstop. Yeah, I mean, the former major leaguers on the broadcast are enamored with his fielding ability for being as tall as he is, and I mean, it's just he has been phenomenal. You're right. He's been really good, but it's everybody. Like, that's the thing. I was telling my dad, I was leaving the stadium. It's like, that's the thing with this team. You look at the run that they've been on in the NCAA tournament, and they've won 13 of 15. They're now 13-2 in the NCAA tournament, 3-0 in Omaha, and they get production from every guy has had like a moment, whether it be Kendall Pettis, who, he can't hit out of a paper bag right now in Omaha. He goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts today. And he was not seeing the ball well today. He was the MVP in Gainesville. Blake Robertson had a nice day. I fully expect Wallace Clark to become the hero of the championship series. Like, it's just, I could see that. He had a rough day at the plate today. He is probably the guy that's lowest on your list of hot names in the playoffs, the NCAA playoffs. Like,
I mean, it's funny because Blake Robertson really never squared up the ball today, but he was on base. He was getting hits over and over again. And he's a guy I know everybody talks about, how hot he was at the end of the year, and people wishes that the beginning of the season Blake Robertson would return. And, he's just been that, like, Treadaway's been so hot and Graham's been so hot, and even Spikerman's, done some really good things. But
I mean, Peyton Graham came in today hitting 625 in the Men's College World Series. It's insane.
It's been a while since he's just really laid in. It seems like it's been a while since he's just really had that, sweet swing, perfect connection, launch. I mean, everybody has pitched around him. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of singles, and he's still getting on base. He's finding ways to get on base. He's had 3 walks. I think he's up to 4 walks now here in Omaha. It's just it's incredible. But we talk about all the offense, and rightfully so. But the reason why Oklahoma's playing in the championship series is because of the pitching and because of the starting
fantastic
pitching, particularly as far as Jake Bennett, Cade Horton, and then obviously David Sandlin, who I think anybody. We kind of wrote about it in like the preview coming into this morning. He wasn't good in Blacksburg. He was okay in Florida. Like I said this morning, like if he could give you 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs is what he gave up in Gainesville, you can live with that. Like, you can win a baseball game if he gives you that. And he goes out today and he was dominant. That's as good as I've seen David Sandlin pitch this year.
Well, and the fact is he had to be, because Texas A&M, they brought in their ace out of the bullpen, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, the college guy's good.
I mean, he was just, no one could get a read on his slider, and he's just one of those guys. He was just, it's not like he was overpowering people, but he was just slinging it past people. It's like nobody could really get a gauge of what his ball was doing coming across the plate. It was just, is one of those guys that you're just like, man, that's a freaking crafty lefty. I just don't get it, but
it looks like he's really kind of deceptive as far as the way that he comes across his body a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I could see that being tough to pick up, but yeah, I mean, it was incredible. They, like, the fact that they're in the championship series and Chas Martinez, Carter Campbell, Carson Atwood, Ben Abram haven't stepped onto the mound yet. Like that, it just like
That's how you get to the championship series, though. That's what Ole Miss is going through right now. Like their first 2 starters were just dominant, and
yeah,
I mean now they're playing Arkansas, and that's the challenge: is can you extend a team's pitching to get to the point? If you're like Oklahoma, they're a powerful offensive team. Arkansas is a powerful offensive team. Same for Ole Miss. I mean, they're the 3 left standing. Texas A&M was a powerful offensive team. I mean, they hit bombs. I mean, but OU's pitching was able to keep them in check. And really, Sandlin's the only guy that they hit in that first day. And then today they got 1 real good hit, a home run off of him. And he struck out 12, like you said. I mean, it was just, that's the thing. It's like this OU offense today was not the explosive offense that we've seen throughout the playoffs. They didn't have to be, because David Sandlin had such a fantastic day on the mound.
He was excellent. And it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know. I always cheer for the guys that are from Oklahoma, and him being like a kid from Owasso. I don't know if you saw that Eric Bailey tweeted during the game that he had talked to Owasso's baseball coach. I think it was this past week. He didn't even make the Owasso varsity team until his senior season. Now,
they talked about that a lot.
That speaks to like how great the Owasso baseball program is.
That's the thing. Owasso's been really good. Won state championships. Like they've been really good. Like
right, but at the same time it speaks to I think a little bit of the development that David went through, obviously under Skip here over the course of the season, and just for him to get his ability to bounce back from what was a rough outing on Friday. It kind of goes back to that thing, like all the buttons that they're pushing right now end up being correct. And, Skip's talked about it on Friday. He wanted to get Sandlin out there to kind of ease the butterflies. And with an 8-run lead, they were able to do that. They were able to get away with it. And, they wake up, Thursday morning with a couple of off days now in Omaha before the start of the championship series coming up on Saturday.
I'm going to tell you this. Baseball is the new helicopter parent capital of the world, I think. Because you're gonna have all these. Why do you say that? You're gonna have all these parents that are like living in big like 6A towns, 5A towns, like they're going to move all their kids to like Tuttle or something so their kids can have starting spots and stuff because
I think
like,
they might be already doing that.
No, I'm saying that because this is happening. I know a family that like, I don't want to say any names or what town because I don't want to make it sound like I'm, ripping on anybody, but this is already happening. But like David Sandlin's story is like every parent loves hearing that story because it makes you believe that your son is just being overlooked and he really does have to. Now, he's throwing 95 miles an hour. I mean, a lot of parents, your kids don't throw 95 miles. If your kid's not breaking 85, like this is not your story. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what David Sandlin was throwing when he's a junior in high school, but I have to believe he was in the 80s.
I would imagine so. I don't know what I can ask him tomorrow. It's just like
ask him tomorrow. Like ask him. I just want to know what kind of pitcher he was as a junior. Like, did he think he was, getting screwed?
I'll ask him if he was shitty. He'll tell me.
Yeah.
It just like it's all come together. Trevin Michael again today. Like I don't think that you have to worry about anything when he comes into the game.
I mean, he's automatic all of a sudden.
He's been incredible. And like his attitude about things, I don't know. He might be the best soundbite on the team, and we just don't talk to him very often.
Do you think he's gotten cockier since the Virginia Tech thing?
Oh, 100%. Or at least we see it more. Maybe that might be a little bit of it too. But
we see that he has a belief in himself. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you're. I mean, this team has a. I mean, I've been on baseball teams that we made runs. Like, I mean, it's not at this level. So, but like all of a sudden, you play in the conference tournament, and you find and you were like fourth. Like we had one year, we were like fourth or fifth. We got in the conference tournament. Everybody got hot. It was like people that hadn't been doing anything all year were suddenly hitting bombs, and you're like, oh, that's why that guy has a scholarship. Like stuff just starts happening, and you don't understand why it happens. And I think that's why you see Skip Johnson. Skip is just like, it's almost like I don't want to mess with this. Like I just want everybody. A lot of that. I just want everybody to go out there, be loose, play baseball because you don't always know why this happens, and you know that you can do things to screw it up. So it really on a baseball team, like you talk about coaching decisions and this and this and that. I mean, you're talking about going to the plate and battling a pitcher and seeing pitches. And fouling off balls, getting up in the count, getting down. Like you can't plan out exactly everything that happens in a baseball game that leads to someone having success at the plate. Just like you can't, like no one could have, there was no sports psychologist, no one could have seen what David Sandlin would have done after he gave up that bomb of a home run into left field. And instead of wilting, that was the key point of the entire game. I think he strikes out 2 after that. With a couple on base, was that? I'm trying to remember how that inning played out.
After the 6th inning,
right after the home run. After he gave up the home run, right?
Yeah, he just locked it down. Fly out to Pedersen left, the ground ball to Robertson at third, where he took it unassisted, and then he struck out the Troy Claunch kid. I think on a 2-2 slider, maybe.
Yeah,
and that was his 12th strikeout of the game, or his 11th strikeout of the game, which was a new career high. And then he was like right at 90. And at that point, I tweeted something. I was like, and I put it on the board in the game thread, like he's at 90. They have Chaz up in the bullpen. I could see that being it. And then he came out in the 7th inning and he, quickly 4 pitches into the 7th inning, he went ground out to Graham at second. A really nice play by Spikerman out in right field on a kind of a seeing eye, like what would be single that he was able to get under, and he caught it. And all of a sudden it was like, he's at 94 pitches with 2 outs in the 7th. And then obviously he struck out Cole Kaler to end the inning. And, by then it was just like, Michael's up and warm, and this thing is kind of curtains on it.
Well, and you wonder, like, you just look at that staff, and you mentioned Trevin Michael and the emotion that he's starting to show. Have you ever seen that much emotion from David Sandlin today? The fist pumps?
He's done that. He's kind of like that. I think he's pretty up and down, and I think that kind of goes back to why Skip wanted to get him out there on Friday, because he's a very emotional guy. And, I think that's the one thing, like, Skip he doesn't necessarily strike me as somebody that, like, he doesn't do, like, the rah-rah speeches and all that kind of stuff. taking him to Rosenblatt. We can get into that here later.
That's cool, yeah.
He's very, very big on like the mental aspect of the game. And, I wrote about like just the culture of the program and everything that, he kind of preaches within this team. The way that David Sandlin responded to the Austin Boast home run or the Dylan Rock home run, that's kind of perfect for how this whole thing goes. Even look back at Cade Horton on Sunday. In any time that he would get into trouble, and he didn't get into very much trouble, steps to the back of the mound, kind of composes himself, gets back up there, and it's just a very mature group. And, I think a lot of that has to do, and especially the pitching staff, that is a direct reflection on Skip Johnson. It's nuts, too. Oklahoma's the first Big 12 team to play in the championship series since 2009, which was Texas in 2009, and Skip was the pitching coach for Texas back then.
Yeah, and I can't tell you just from a baseball perspective, just growing up playing the game, like how unique it is, because I think Jimmy Crooks does a good job of this, and it's I always thought as a catcher it was my responsibility to take care of the guy that was on the mound. Like I always knew, okay, this guy's a little bit of a head case. If I see this happen or I let this happen, it could go sideways real fast. And like you just always want to take care of those guys, whether it's framing the pitches so it looks good, calming them down if the ump calls a ball when you feel like it's been a strike. Like you're always kind of, and I think Crooks does a good job of kind of taking time out, running out to the mound if he sees something, settling guys down. But to have your catcher hitting 3-run bombs and giving you the lead and giving you the offense, like that's really cool as a catcher. Like I'm really happy for Jimmy Crooks that he's so hot and he's able to do that, because I mean, other than was it Treadaway or was it Spikerman that had the RBI?
Treadaway.
Okay, Treadaway
RBI single in the 5th, extended his hitting streak to 17 games as well.
But it's just like, it was a grind for them offensively today. I mean, A&M threw some good arms at them.
It kind of speaks to I think the respect that Jimmy Crooks that Skip Johnson has for Jimmy Crooks. Jimmy Crooks calls pitches.
Yeah,
like, it's his show back there,
and that's awesome.
He kind of leads those pitchers along, and it's sort of kind of amazing because not too long ago, just a couple years ago, Jimmy Crooks is kind of battling Justin Mitchell, who ends up transferring, the Norman High product, who ends up transferring to Kansas State this past season. Like they were battling to see who the catcher was going to be. And they made a decision, went with Crooks last year or 2 years ago. And, ever since then, this has kind of been Jimmy Crooks' team. And he's kind of, I think that there's a lot of people that would say Tanner Treadway is kind of the heartbeat of this team. I know that Peyton Graham told us that before they went down to Gainesville in the regional. But Jimmy Crooks is kind of like the unsung captain of this team, if you will. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people that look to him, to not only be the captain out on the field on the defensive side of the ball, but like you said, when he gives you the big swings that he's giving you right now, it's just kind of added icing on top of the cake.
My only disappointment today is that we have not gotten our Shohei Ohtani moment from Cade Horton yet at the plate.
I just like Cade Horton. It's one of those things. I was kind of surprised that they. You
can tell like he's rusty. Like he's not.
No,
like,
he is.
Being out there, facing live pitching, not knowing what's coming at you. Like he's not. Like I almost think at one point today I was thinking, it's Orduño is who they started the other day, right?
Yeah, Orduño started on Sunday night in the DH role for Brett Squires.
I almost think he's a better choice right now. Because Cade just seems like he has massive potential. I mean, I remember seeing those monsters he was hitting in fall ball before he got his injury. I mean, it's just he has a ton of potential, but he's just not quite ready yet, I don't think.
It'll be interesting when they get to the championship series, depending on what Mississippi throws at them. And I think they really like trying to match up. So you're just talking about a right-handed hitter. Yeah. Now, I was surprised that they went with Horton over Diego, but I think that the thinking on that was and Skip kind of insinuated this after the game, I think on the radio broadcast in the post game. I think Cade Horton the last 2 days out of practice, and I've been out there for it, and his batting practices has been hitting tanks over the left field wall at Bellevue East.
I can see that.
Absolute monster tanks.
I mean, he is a monster. The potential is definitely there. I mean, and maybe something sparks. I mean, that always, that can happen on this stage.
Sure. And I think they were just kind of hoping that he runs into one. But at the same time, I think everybody in that dugout is kind of thinking the same thing, like, please don't get hit. If you're going to get out, just run down the base pass gingerly. Like, don't do anything that is going to jeopardize a possible next start on the mound, because he's that good with an arm. Like the most interesting thing with Cade Horton here over the next couple of weeks, this is like a very uncomfortable conversation to have. I was talking to Toby about it. He's going to have to basically decide. I mean, he's moved up in the MLB pipeline top 2 rounds. He's going to have to basically decide, do I want to go now, which he's coming off Tommy John surgery, so I don't know what the decision there is going to be, or do you want to come back to college, refine your skills with Skip, be one of the best Friday night starters in the entire college baseball, and you could be a top 10 pick in 2023. Like, that's his decision. And I don't know, like, what the scouts tell you. I don't know what an agent would tell you. Well, I probably know what an agent would tell you, but like, I don't know what the smart decision is going to be, because he's going to have that decision in front of him. He's going to have, do you want to go take the millions now, or do you kind of want to bet on yourself, bet on your arm coming off Tommy John, come back, work with Skip for another year, and you could legitimately probably be a top 10 pick in the 2023 in Major League Draft.
Are you telling me right now that you want me to put together an NIL deal for Cade Horton? Get that sleeve filled in.
Yeah, he might need to get another sleeve on the other arm.
Well, he's got to get the one he's got now filled in a little bit more. I mean, it's not a complete sleeve yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he wants to John Mayer it and go color, like Japanese style.
I mean, he can do anything he wants. He's going to have an opportunity on Sunday afternoon in Game 2 to really kind of put his stamp on this thing. I mean, he probably already has in a way. But, and that's the other thing about getting it done today in the fashion that they did. It's all set up now. I mean, Jake Bennett's going to start Game 1 on Saturday night. Cade Horton's going to start Game 2 on Sunday afternoon. And then you worry about Monday when you get there.
I liked your notebook yesterday. You'd pointed out that, when a team gets knocked out, they take their flag and they fly it at half mast.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Like, I didn't know that they did that. I'm just,
it's not an official, like, it's part of like the merch area. So I don't think it's like the NCAA doesn't have somebody going out and doing that. That'd be cool if they did, though.
So here's my thing. You're in Omaha. Do you have any thoughts on a Natty for Patty type situation? Like, have you put any thought into it? Is it just been you're coming up blank? Because, I mean, we all know how important that was to the softball run.
I know. I haven't really thought about it. And full disclosure, I don't know. Because I like doing that stuff when I'm not around the people, so I don't have to like ever really see anybody.
You like being a joker when you know you don't have to be in the middle of like asking questions at press conferences and stuff.
Exactly right. That's exactly
right. So
you
have shame, is what you're saying. You do feel shame.
Somewhat. A little bit of shame. But not too much.
It's a good thing I haven't shown you any of your T-shirt designs, because your head would get really big.
I can't get any much bigger.
That is one of the since Josh wouldn't let me go. I mean, ruining my dream of ever covering an OU championship at Omaha. Probably never happen again in my lifetime. Who knows? Thanks, Josh.
I mean, maybe they'll just go back to back.
Josh and I may have if they win a national championship, Josh and I might have problems being business partners moving forward.
It's crazy, man. I truly and still am in a little bit of awe as far as what they've been able to do up here. I told Eric Hollier, the SID for baseball, I thought that they would maybe win a game, I just didn't really know what to expect on this stage because I knew that like the other teams up here are really, really good. And I would still even say like the two most talented teams are probably playing right now in Ole Miss and Arkansas.
But Eddie, there's nobody in their heart of hearts that could have said, "Oh, they're definitely going to Blacksburg and winning that super regional." Like they were. No, they were a team. I just
didn't know how good the ACC was. Like that was my only holdup. Yeah. And you saw the numbers that they threw up there.
But I'm just saying. I mean, like everybody's talking about like, well, you know, and I know people are getting kind of defensive, including you a little bit about that fourth inning the other day. And, you know, people saying, how could they run themselves out of the inning like that? And it became, well, that's what they do all year. If you watch this team, you know. Oh,
yeah, no.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
It was bad base running. I can admit that.
The team that they have been all year, like, this is the best version of them. Like, they've been building to this.
Sure.
Like, no, so 100%. It's like you followed the team all year. And you deserve to be recognized for being a diehard fan, but even you didn't know it would be this good. Like, and now that it's gotten this good, it's fine. Like, just everybody's going to enjoy it. I mean, there are going to be people caravanning up to Omaha this weekend. I mean,
oh yeah, I don't think that anybody thought it was going to be this good for this long. Like, it's been high level elite baseball for a month now. Like, and you could even extend it into 2 months. I mean, Carey, they have not won 2 games on a weekend since April 10th.
Was it like 7 straight weeks or something like that?
It's June 22nd. And I know that these games haven't been played on a weekend, but they haven't lost a weekend since April 10th. I mean, it's insane.
Well, it goes back 6
and 11 or something
to Jake Bennett, to Cody Horton, why do I want to say Cody Horton? Cade Horton, and like David Sandlin. What you saw today,
Cody Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's truly like what they've
and the
done.
bats stayed hot. I mean, that's the other thing.
No, the bats have stayed hot, and you know, I think more than anything, they're just pounding the strike zone. David Sandlin today, like Skip Johnson, he told Toby on the pregame show, like the number one thing for him because of A&M's, and you said the Gary Ward like mentality of taking a pitch, fill up the strike zone as much as possible. He threw 17 strikes to this first pitch strikes to the 27 batters he faced.
Yeah, the second time around in the order, the second time around in the order, they were starting to swing at some of the first pitches. I just kind of throw them off, but then they kind of went back to taking it again. Like, but the thing was, I mean, like you said, he was at, what was it, 79 or something going into the 7th inning? Or 80,
he was
84
he was
or
at
something?
90 going into 7th.
Okay.
Because they finished right at 100. His 100th pitch was the strikeout of Cole Kaler.
But I remember he had one inning where he threw 4 pitches and had 2 outs. Or, you know, just didn't want it.
Yeah, that was the 7th inning.
Was that the Kohler home run that came up after that?
No, that was the...
Oh, that was the 7th before he left and gave way to Mitchell.
Right,
okay.
And he gave way. It was truly like a very, very special performance. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. I think David Sandlin would probably tell you that, I don't know, he might be a little crazy. Do you see like the video shots? Somebody sent me video shots of him like talking to himself on the mound and stuff.
No, I didn't see that. No.
He's like just mouthing to himself like, one more, come on, and like one more, mother, you know.
Yeah.
It just like, it's like this guy was locked in today.
I mean, you just do what you got to do when you're out there on the mound and you're throwing it like that.
Oh, sure.
It was just crazy. I mean, it was
no doubt.
And there was one point in the game where they got a little too curveball happy, and he got away from throwing fastballs, and something happened. Like, I don't know, maybe Skip said something to Crooks, but it's like all of a sudden he found the fastball again and he started throwing it by people. I think it's just kind of one of those deals, like, you know what that lineup is, and when you start facing them the second time around, you're like, this stuff's probably not good enough against everybody in this lineup because they can jack it around. And what he found out, I think, was just my stuff is still good. Like my fastball is still good. I'm still able to throw it past these guys because his curveball was so good. They never really got a beat on his fastball.
I don't know how you felt, but the turning point in the entire game was fourth inning. I mean, you go back and he walks the leadoff hitter. He gives up the single, and all of a sudden it's first and second, no outs, and you're thinking, okay, it's only 4-0.
And then he struck out the side,
really
right?
Get back into this, and then he comes back and strikes out the side.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Starting with the Troy Claunch kid, who I think is a really, really good baseball player. Like, he's a great catcher. Won a national championship with Oregon State, transferred down to join Schlossnagel at A&M this past year, and he strikes out the Brett Minich kid, who was having a really good College World Series, and Jordan Thompson, who hit the 3-run homer on Friday off Jake Bennett. And, I think after that, it was kind of one of those moments of you just got out of a big situation. You're up 4-0 and you're going into the bottom of the fourth. And it seemed like everybody kind of breathed easy after that. It was like, after that, it was kind of the downhill slide.
Yeah. And then, and then you get some insurance run. You get an insurance run there.
Yep.
They hit the home run and you're like, okay, well, now you don't really have to worry unless they get two people on base. And then maybe you change pitchers. And they never let it get to that point. I mean, there was
that's the crazy thing.
There was basically an entire day of A&M. I mean, a little threat here and there, but for the most part, they couldn't even get on base.
No, after the Dylan Rock home run in the sixth inning, he's the first batter in the sixth inning. They get a solo shot immediately. It's 5-1.
I think they turned a double play
hit until the top of the ninth.
They turned a double play at one point.
The double play got him out of the eighth inning.
Okay.
That was after Trevin Michael came in. He walks the guy with one out after the great Spikerman play out in right field. Walks the guy. 2 or 3 pitches later, 6-4-3, Peyton Graham rolls it up, and they're out of the inning. And after that, is like the game's over. Like, they're not going to score 4 runs off Michael in the ninth.
And the other thing about watching the World Series is you just can't screw up at all. Like, OU, they get caught for a stolen base, and then OU, the second baseman has just a ground ball out, throws it to first base, and the first baseman doesn't catch it. And then I believe that was the inning where Treadaway knocked in the insurance run. Graham scored on Graham had the double after Spikerman led off the inning in the third inning. Spikerman leads off the inning with gets caught stealing.
Single to left.
Then he gets caught
stealing. Graham doubles. Robertson hits the lazy ground ball over to second, and the first baseman drops it.
Right.
And that got Graham around. So he scored on the air.
Oh, did he score on the air? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just, it's crazy.
Because he was already at second, he gets to third, and then, the ball rolls away and he scores from third. Like, and that's the thing is, like, you go back and you look at what Oklahoma has done every time that somebody does make an error against them in the NCAA tournament.
Them pay, yeah.
I bet they've scored at least 90% of the time. Maybe that's probably too high. I bet they've scored 75% of the time.
It's impressive.
You can't give them.
No, you can't screw up against them.
Any little opening, and I think if you go back and you look at really good teams and teams that have won the College World Series or teams that would have won just championships in general, any sport, they take advantage of those opportunities. I mean, look at the OU softball team. Anytime that they had an opening, they would make a team pay with like 9 runs.
Yeah, I don't remember watching an OU baseball team where I was like, if someone walked, I was like, well, you're in trouble now. Like, you never, especially early in the inning. Like, if you walk a leadoff guy for OU, you're screwed most of the time.
Yeah, it's just it truly, like, it. I don't want to say it doesn't make sense, because I think that, like, kind of takes away from, like, what they've put together. But I mean, this team, it's a talented team. Don't get me wrong, very talented. But you don't look at it and you go, like, I don't know. At least for me, like, I don't look at this team as like an Arkansas or an Ole Miss that I feel like is just supremely talented. I mean, they've obviously brought in some really nice pieces.
They were
Blake
saying
Robertson
that
was very highly rated out of high school.
They were saying that
all these guys have taken like weird routes.
Yeah, they were saying that Arkansas, they have the 3 highest launch trajectories of anybody in the World Series. Like 3 different
Arkansas
players
and
from
Ole Miss
Arkansas.
both spent time as number 1 team in the country this year.
Yeah.
And the Ole Miss story is fascinating just for that aspect. They were the number 1 team in the country, and then they ended up being the last team to get into the tournament, and like Oklahoma, didn't play a home game in the NCAA tournament. And all of a sudden you look up, they haven't lost a game in the NCAA tournament. Now they're getting beat 2-1 right now in the 7th, but still, like, all these teams are very, very good. And, I think that it's kind of like we talked about last week, Carey, when I got up here. It's like everybody wanted to know, like, what the direction of the program was because of the move to the SEC here in a few years. And this kind of solidifies everything. I think it kind of calms everybody down. Obviously, you're playing for a national championship, but
I think
like long term, feels good.
Every sport is more prepared to go to the SEC except for football. Like baseball's prepared, softball's definitely prepared. I mean, men's basketball, they just aren't very good in the SEC in basketball. So, nobody's saying, "Oh, you got to prepare in basketball." But like football is like, that's the only school that you worry, like, are they prepared to go to the SEC? And not like play Kentucky and Missouri, but to beat Georgia or Alabama.
Just like the irony too of like everything that's happening right now. It's going to be really funny when we go to Big 12 Media Days here in about a month. And Bob Bowlesby, if he walks in there with the basketball championship and a baseball championship, like, he should give everybody the middle finger.
I'll say this. By the way, we should also mention big news for OU Stadium that came out today.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was just big news in general.
Yeah, just huge. And you kind of put this out there when it was determined that they were headed to Omaha. OU kind of reintroduced, like, hey, we're building a new baseball stadium. Like, it was kind of a reintroduction of something they'd already done. I know some people were like, well, didn't they already announce this? Yeah, but it was just an opportunity for them to remind people, like, hey, we're building a new. We've got the softball taken care of. We're doing baseball too, and you might want to support this program right now because
sure.
Look at
they're not going to be turning down checks. I'd put it that way.
No, but I don't know who Brian and Kim Kimry from Bartlesville, my birthplace. They had already made $1 million donation. Mm-hmm. They'd already contributed $1.1 million. Now they decided to increase that to $3.1 million. And like the Loves, when they did the softball stadium, they are issuing a challenge to donors. They say they will match every other donation dollar for dollar up to an additional $2 million. So essentially, this is a $5.1 million donation. Yeah.
Is that not like the biggest flex of all time? Like, oh, by the way, we'll also
look. We're rich. Stop being poors, you other riches, and give $2 million, and then we'll give another $2 million. Basically, I mean, it's a great little kind of way to do it. I don't want to call it a scam or a no. I mean, that's what the Loves did. I mean, you gonna rip on the Loves?
No.
The Loves family, shout out. But no, I mean that's big. That's huge. So I mean, if someone matches, so they're up to 7.1 million. If somebody else comes up with the 2 million, so.
No, it looks good. And
it's cool how they. If you haven't seen the plans, it's cool how they're kind of redoing the entry into the stadium to make it more. You're coming in through home plate. I like that a lot.
It looks really cool. Like I think that, and I think that right now the kind of the plans are to break ground on that in June of 2023. I think that's kind of like the target date. At the end of the day, it's like OU baseball's kind of been nickeled and dimed by OU. I feel like, and listen, like obviously the results haven't been where they needed to be over the last couple of years, but
we all know, Eddie, like we all know, like, whether it was salary or whatever. I mean, the Sonny thing, the way it ended, it was basically him, at the time, it seemed like it was Sonny kind of trying to negotiate, and it ended up not costing him his job, but he had to take another job because OU wasn't willing to commit to the things that he wanted. And you're right. It's always seemed like baseball has gotten like, they've made some upgrades here and there, but it's like, if nobody's there, you could go up and push that press box around. Like it's not all that.
It's literally been the same thing since I was in school.
Yes.
I mean, it literally. Now, it's been the same press box over at the football stadium, but they've obviously had a little bit more success.
Well, and they've done a lot for, I think Sonny's deal was he just wanted like better training facilities, batting cages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And couldn't get that. So like this is a $30 million project. I mean, I certainly don't expect to throw it out there like someone listening to the Unofficial 40 is going to go out and give $10 million. I mean, I'm sure those people listen that have that money, but it's not like it's our job to be the Sooner Club. But I mean, $30 million. I mean, just like, look what, I can't remember what the Griffin Family Center cost, but I mean, whatever that was, that made a huge difference. Just a training facility attached onto something that a lot of people want to see bulldozed.
Yeah. And, I'm talking even more so about the university aspect of it. I mean, I think that there's some things that have happened up here that OU could be supported a little bit more.
And you want to
I mean, I've heard that each team I've heard that each team got $150 per diem per day. It's like an NCAA rule the players do.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard the OU baseball players haven't gotten that from the university.
Wow. That's
which I like in a certain respect, like I kind of think is pathetic.
Yeah. If that's really going on, that's
athletes like that.
That's terrible if that's really going on.
I mean, I don't want to make a big deal about it, but it's just like they're playing for a national championship.
Yeah, Joe, you got to fix that. That's crazy. So, okay, so what happens now? OU moves on. They play Saturday.
Yep.
They will await to find out who wins the other side of the bracket. Right now, is it still 2-1? I don't have the TV. I don't have a TV in here.
Still 2-1. Arkansas threatening to get a little bit of an insurance run. It looks like maybe a review out at second, but
that's what you want. If you're an OU fan, that's what you want. Arkansas to win tonight.
Oh, let them play.
Use up pitching.
Arkansas winning.
Yeah, use up as much pitching as possible. And I think if they have to play tomorrow, I think Ole Miss is going with their ace.
Oh, they're pitching Delich again tomorrow?
I think so. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like that's what they were insinuating on the broadcast.
Sure. And he's been really good. That'd be a huge break for Oklahoma if that could be the case.
It's
and anybody that they play though, it's like if you get what you just got out of Jake Bennett and David Sandlin and Cade Horton. But
you just have to get two. You just need Bennett and Horton to redo what they did.
Right. I mean, the numbers that they've put up in the College World Series, the Oklahoma pitching staff as a whole has struck out 34 and walked 6.
By the way,
the starters in back-to-back performances with Sandlin and Horton have struck out 23 and walked 4. Or walked 3. No, walked 2. They each walked 1 each. Cade Horton and David Sandlin against Notre Dame and A&M.
By the way, I hope that Message Board Geniuses doesn't go and comb through certain threads on the Crimson Corner.
I mean, here's the thing. They were never thinking about pitching Jake Bennett today. Like, he threw a bullpen yesterday.
Yeah.
In preparation in case they needed to throw him on Thursday. So, like, this idea that they should have thrown Jake Bennett, it's like a non-starter with me. It was never thought about. They've been planning for this for the last, X amount of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, you have no chance at a national title if you threw him today.
Right.
And it didn't work out. Even if you that'd be the worst thing in the world. You lose the first game, now you've lost Bennett and you've lost all your other pitchers in the if necessary game coming up. I mean, my God.
It just it doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, they're in a perfect spot I mean,
I left it at 3 pages, so I didn't even get to see all the carnage.
It's beautiful. It's great interneting is what it is. It's
I think we may have lost a member based on their own opinion, on their own hot take. Because I think I would probably leave the site if that happened to me.
Or at least change his name. Definitely.
I'll change. Don't leave the site. We still want your money. Just we'll change your name.
Put him in Scoop Witness Protection.
Well, yeah, we'll start Scoop Witness Protection for everyone that has awful takes on sports that they don't follow year round. When they want to come hard, and it's what's the old Dave Chappelle skit?
What?
Which
one?
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite things of all time. Next to the wrap it up. But yeah, when keeping it real goes wrong, that's one of my favorite comedy skits of all time.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start a witness protection program for all of those of you that are so embarrassed by your hot take that you just want to disappear. It's happened to all of us. I've been freezing cold taked before on Twitter.
Oh, I think it's like a sign of of honor.
It's not a pleasant experience.
Well, when you're in the take industry,
you just have to kind of take it and just know, like, yeah, I effed up.
Yeah, that's part of the
whatever
you're
gonna say. Experience. Yeah, whatever you're gonna say to me, I deserve it. I'm gonna take it like a man, and I'll move on.
Just a little bit of a schedule here for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Thursday, tomorrow, they'll have, I would imagine they're going to get out. I think Skip doesn't want them basically just like laying around the hotel all day. So they'll get out and probably have a small little batting practice workout.
Maybe some bologna sandwiches.
East. On Friday, the day before the championship series, they're actually having like a media day. So they'll practice again over at the Schwab. They'll go out and do their thing. Like actually out on the field, they'll practice on the field, they'll go through batting practice on the field, and then they actually have a media session Friday afternoon. So that's kind of what to look forward to here over the next couple of days from Omaha, and then obviously game one of the championship series coming up on Saturday.
If I gave you just like a bag of gas station sandwiches to hand out on media day, would you do it?
To who?
To the players who aren't getting their per diem.
Well, I mean, hopefully the ride has been wronged, and hopefully I'm wrong about that, but we'll see.
Just like hand out fruit, you know. Hey guys, I heard about your per diem.
They can come over to the boardroom and eat with me, the blue collar boardroom.
See, I mean, stop making it out like we're not giving you decent accommodations. All right.
It's not you guys. It's not you guys at all. This is an NCAA thing, and it's not that bad. I say it lovingly. I've come to love this place. I was telling Max Olson earlier. He's like, well, sometimes the rooms open up in like the downtown area. And I was like, dude, I'm not moving. This is my home.
Trust me, I've been looking for you.
This is my place. I don't want to move.
The prices have come down, but they're still ridiculous.
This is where I want to be.
Roughing it.
It's not even roughing it. It's just. You know,
it's
one of these things, Carey. You take such great care of us when we do travel and we go to Marriott's and stuff like that. This is a culture building experience. This is a character building experience, and I appreciate it.
This is like going out. This is like being on an episode of Bear Grylls if you're in the media.
But it is like it's fun in a way because everybody's here. Like all the media people are here, so it's not like I'm.
Because they all got a bunch of cheap bastard bosses like me. They're like, I can get that rate? Okay.
Oh, no. It's really not that bad. I mean, I'm making it out to be a lot worse than it actually is. If I wake up with a bug on my face or something, that's when I'll make the call.
Okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I don't think we're anywhere close to that.
I've seen some roaches in the office. So.
There's a restaurant across the street from us that I'm going to maybe go try out tonight when we get done here. It's called the Spearmint Rhino. I've never seen them, but I'm going to try it out.
Isn't there like a Perkins right across the street or something? No, that was
No, there is a Perkins.
Okay.
How'd you know that?
I think I saw that in the photos when I was booking the trip.
No, there is. And Lee Benson and I went over there one night and got dinner. Saturday night we went over there and had a nice little
Did you ask the hostess?
Bar meal. And it was awesome.
Did you ask the hostess if Tiger Woods has ever come in?
No, I don't think that Tiger Woods has probably frequented this one. But if you show your room key, you get a discount. So I might be back over there tonight.
Perkins is not the worst place in the world.
Perkins was good.
Yeah. It's like for those. It's kind of like a.
It's like an upscale Denny's. Is kind of how.
Yeah, it's kind of like a poor man's Charleston's and upscale Denny's. By the way, my buddy runs the Charleston's in Omaha, and he has invited you for a fine meal anytime you want.
Yeah, I think we might try to get over there. The one place that we have to go, and it might be tomorrow night, is the Drover, the steak place with the whiskey steaks. Like, that's the place that everybody talks about when you go to Omaha. You go to the Drover. Mm-hmm. Toby and Eric and those guys went on Monday night, said it was amazing. So I'm going over there within the next 48 hours before the series starts.
I'll pay for that just because you haven't stayed in the usual what's the word?
No, it's
for
like
it?
I always tell you, if I'm traveling, I'm gonna have to eat anyways. So I'll pay for it. It's no big deal.
Oh my God.
We're good.
Don't tell Josh that. But I hope you get out and are able to kind of enjoy some things and just relax a little bit, because you've been doing some really good Big J journalism. I'm proud of you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been fun. It's been fun. Every once in a while, I look down at these hands and I'm like, I can still do this maybe.
So you've impressed me. I'm not going to lie. It's been, I don't want to praise you too much because you still have a championship series to cover.
Right. And if they win, I don't want to just say F it and then don't answer calls and just go out with all my buddies. So
by the way,
I'm going to really be under the gun this weekend.
By the way, I do have something that'll make you feel better if you are down about the boardroom. Speaking of boardroom, because of OU's historic run, and by the way, Dead Soxy, really big on the Ole Miss scenes as well. So if it's an Ole Miss OU national champion, that's going to be a Dead Sox, two of their biggest collections, Oklahoma and Ole Miss. It's going to be a face-off. So they're very excited for the fans for both schools, and they're extending their 35% off with the promo code SCOOP. So they're just saying, baseball team's hot. We want you to get these while they're hot. So also go to deadsoxy.com, DEADSOXY.com. Use that promo code SCOOP and get 35% off. The retro socks are out there now. The Maker Bayfields, the wagon wheels. All of them. They're really great. Plus, just use those. How has just the temperature been compared to being in Oklahoma? You were at football camps, so it was brutal there, but is it anything like that out in Omaha?
The last couple of days it was. Over the weekend, the heat index was getting into 105, 110.
You had to feel like the Oklahoma winds followed you there.
Yeah, over the last 2 days, everything's kind of calmed down. Today was really, really nice. Yesterday was pretty nice. There's a cold front moving in tomorrow, I think. Slight chance of rain Friday afternoon, Friday evening. But by the weekend, it's supposed to be beautiful. By Sunday night, it's supposed to be low 80s.
Now, did you go over? And the reason I was asking, brought that up just because, you want to get the no-shows, especially for weeks like this. You probably don't have enough Dead Soxy socks to make it through. You might have all 11 days or whatever you're going to be there.
Oh, I brought the entire no-show collection from the Radosevich household. I think, and tomorrow's going to be kind of fun because
are you going to have to do laundry?
I'm going to do a little laundry up here tomorrow. I think I kind of have to.
I've had to do that before. I had to do that before. And they do have a laundry room and stuff for you, so.
No, they do. It's actually pretty nice. Lee's used it already, so I'm going to.
Yeah, I saw Lee tweeting that he'd only packed for 5 days. There. That is really weird when you have to do laundry when you're on covering sports.
You know what's crazy? Last night we're coming back from the stadium, ate at a place called The Mat. It's like a mattress factory that they turned into a restaurant. It's right behind right field. Mm-hmm. And we're walking in, and this guy stops me. He's like, "You're Eddie," and I was like, "Yeah." And he listened, big U40 listener, and he wasn't even here for the game. He coming down from South Dakota. He was talking at a Native American I don't want to say reservation, but like they're having some type of meeting up there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I'm coming down from Sioux Falls, had to stay in Omaha tonight and headed back out on the road tomorrow. So it was kind of cool.
So what's the, how do you like the stadium?
It's awesome. I've kind of described it as it's like One Oak and Tulsa, but a bigger, more professional ballpark, if you will. It's really nice, but it doesn't have that like overbearing professional feel. Like I think the attendance, the stadium holds like 25,000.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But
doesn't feel
never
like that.
Too big. I
Feels
don't know how to explain it. It's a perfect size for what this venue is.
Yeah.
And OU's been they've had a little bit of a bad draw because they've played all the afternoon games. At night, it gets packed. Like it's at 25,000 strong. Like Sunday night, it was, I think the official attendance was like 24,900, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that first elimination game
it wasn't too bad.
That first elimination game was pretty bare. I remember seeing on TV.
Yeah. And it's just hard for somebody to like drop their things and come to a national semifinal at 1:00, but that's probably more on the NCAA than it is anybody else.
All right, we are going to bring Josh on. It is Wednesday night, and Josh is going to be joining me tomorrow morning to finish off the pod. But live from Omaha, Eddie Radosevich, Sooners moving on. They win at 5-1 today over Texas A&M. Will face either Arkansas or Ole Miss in the championship series, where it's 3 games, and the first to win 2 is your national champion. OU's never been in a championship series like this before since they've moved to this format. So it should be very exciting. I mean, a lot of you guys that watch softball are, used to this stuff, but this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, if you're an OU baseball fan, if you're an OU fan in general, I don't know if it gets any better than this. I don't know if it gets any better than what you've gone through this spring as far as, the softball run, the men's golf run, the women's tennis run. It truly might be one of the greatest, semesters in the history of the school.
National champion in women's gymnastics. I'm telling you,
ever since Brent Venables got to campus, things have changed. I think
it's that motivational spirit that he has.
Motivational spirit, or they just had to get the other thing that was here out of there.
Yeah, that might be it. The power suck.
Whatever it was bad juju. I know that.
I think I called that one. Anyway, no, it's been great coverage. Go to Soonerscoop.com, subscribe. Also, go to Soonerscoopstore.com and check out our selection of hats. I want to clear out all of our, not that I don't love you, Isaiah, but I'm trying to clear off all of our inventory to the Isaiah Thomas collection. We got started late, and then Lincoln screwed us, so we had more than what, we if it were any other regular circumstance, I know those would have been out the door by now, but I just want to get them out the door. I met with our screen printers. I'm ready to start our Sooner Scoop T-shirt collection and our U40 T-shirt collection. Our Soonerscoop.com hats will be coming. So I got a lot more inventory coming in. So here's what I'm doing. $7.99 for the Isaiah Thomas T-shirts, $14.99 for the hoodies. That's below cost on both, but I just want to get them out the door, and Isaiah's going to get that money. So whatever I sell, it's just going to go straight to him and the new baby. Buy lots of diapers and stuff for that. Being a late round pick in the NFL draft, he's not rich yet, so he could use your support. So let's get those things out the door. I want to clear out the office. $7.99 for the T-shirts, $14.99 for the hoodies, and I'll get those mailed out to you as soon as you guys get your orders in. So thank you very much for all the support you've given us through Soonerscoopstore.com, and go get that out of the office so we can start bringing new stuff in that you guys are going to love. So, Eddie, appreciate it. We'll see what we do the rest of the way. We might do something, maybe a little post-game action or something like that.
Yeah, we can do that.
If we get a chance. But no, I hate spending the money, but I'm glad that you're getting to experience this. I wish I was getting to experience it with you. And it should be just great times watching it. So looking forward to it. Eddie, thank you so much. We'll be back on the other side. We'll welcome in Josh McCuistion. We'll get to some recruiting and some OU football stuff right now. All right, well, now we welcome in Josh McCuistion, my partner in financial crimes. As Josh, I was telling Eddie this. Our relationship may be damaged forever if OU wins a national championship, and you denied me the chance to go cover it. You better root for a loss. It'll be better for your professional life. I'm just telling you.
I considered the possibility of calling you the other night last night and being like, all right, if you want to fly up there for you want to go up there for game 1 and there's a media spot available, as obviously a lot of people have already gone home now, maybe we could
for
swing
game
that.
1?
But
I can only go for game 1?
Well, I mean, let's not get crazy, Carey.
Well, look, I
still got to be somewhat tight-ass.
I hate to make this out to be reasonable because it's my chance to really just dig it in on you. But we don't have enough money for me to fly to Omaha, so I've already spent all the extra money that we had because new stuff came in that we needed that was out of stock. That's what I'm constantly fighting. Like, we need stuff, but it's all back-ordered, or there's the shipping delay stuff on everything. I think I've talked about this before, but... So it's like, I'll sit there one day, I'll get an alert like, what, this item in your wish list is coming in stock. And I'm like, oh, shit, there's $1,000 I got to spend because we have to have it.
And it's literally the moment when we are strapped. Like,
yes.
Okay, like the morning after we decided we were sending Eddie,
I've been waiting for stuff for 4 months. And then we commit to spending $2,000 to send Eddie to Omaha. And then it's like the next day, it's like this item that is impossible to get that you won't ever have for a chance to buy for another 6 months is just come in stock. So you're just damned if you do and you're damned if you. Eventually, this will all end. Well, it'll be over someday. But I will say, we are making money by spending money. Not $250,000 yet, but
Oof.
So
that.
It's
that number
quite
gives
a bit,
me abdominal pain.
Quite a bit higher than that now, though. So, and it's still got more to go. So
I'm trying not to think about it.
I told you we should have done a YouTube video where I just revealed to you all the stuff that we bought the last 3 years leading up to this.
Tiffany used to listen to the podcast. She no longer does, and there are moments where I'm very, very glad that she does not. And having to hear that, we could have spent that on something and it'll be some shit for us. I'm like, that's not the way this works. We don't just get all this money. And she's like, well, you guys own it. And I'm like, no, damn it, no.
It's nice to see Tiffany just sees us as a bank and not people.
100%. 100. We are just functionaries of her next decorative decision making inside the house.
We essentially
we need
are
new bar stools.
We are an NIL collective in her mind. It's just like money just springs up from out of the ground, and then it just gets funneled to people for no reason.
And her friends are upset because they don't have an NIL collective set up yet, and it's a whole thing. It's an ugly time in the suburbs of Houston at the moment. So,
I mean, you posted the article the other day. We should talk about this. And it's just a never ending, because it's just one of those things. It's like, no matter if it's been a day or a week, every time you bring up, oh yeah, OU doesn't have an A&M or Texas-like collective going. Like, there's been things that have been announced that weren't ready to be announced, that who knows if they're really going to happen or not. Like, and that's the problem. That's like why we've always just been like, we're working on stuff, but we're not going to be that like. It's like, it's always like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to? It really is the equivalent of, are we there yet?
Yes.
With OU and NIL.
I was just talking to some people on the board about this, and there's this almost, I don't even think it's vague anymore. It seems to be a widely growing belief that, like, the OU staff is just completely unaware of NIL and has no idea that some players are very interested in and some players are not. Like, they're taking that into account. Like, they're aware of that. People, all of a sudden, Steve Wiltfong has mentioned, a guy from 24/7, really good national reporter, has mentioned that David Hicks really loved his Oregon visit. Duh. Like, yeah, of course he did. Like, Oregon does a great job. It's a fun place to be, especially in the summer for a guy living in Houston. He goes up there and it's 80 degrees and beautiful and it looks different and all of those things.
There's very few places on earth like Eugene, Oregon. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And beyond that, like, it's an official visit, man. They're going to treat you like a god. You get all the food you could ever want. You get to hang around incredible facilities. They're going to show you stuff. I mean, at Oregon, you're around the Nike stuff everywhere. I mean, which obviously is going to appeal to any young guy. So it's one of those things you're like, oh, okay, obviously. But now everybody's like, well, I guess that means OU's out. What? Where did that correlation come? Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, it's just going to come down to Oregon and A&M with NIL. And I'm like, guys, Todd Bates is a really good recruiter. Brent Venables is a really good recruiter. They didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Like, those guys know that this stuff's going on, and they wouldn't be expending all this energy on David Hicks and others if they just knew, like, well, it doesn't matter what we do. The guy's going to go NIL. Because there are guys they've walked away from because of that, because they knew it doesn't matter what we sell and all the great things we have to offer. It's just going to come down to the biggest offer. And beyond that, guys, I mean, like, we know there was stuff put together for Caleb Williams. There's been some things put together. It's not like OU has nothing. It's just not organized on the level that A&M and Texas and some others are. But that will happen. Like, I just, this idea that OU's coaches are just, like, naive to it all. I don't understand where that comes from.
Yeah, I mean, but it's that way with everything. When people don't see things, like, no one knows who's working on what, or, like, that's the problem, is, like, you have something announced, like that one OU collector, whatever that thing was, and, like, and then it kind of falls to the wayside, and then you don't hear anything, you wonder what's going on. It's like, it's even worse. Like, it's better to just stay in the shadows until you're completely ready and then just spring it on people. And eventually it'll happen. Eventually something will be announced. People are working. I know plenty of people working on this stuff. It'll be announced, and then you'll be like, finally. But to spend every day thinking and worrying and wringing your hands and saying, why is OU behind? Why don't we have this? Why isn't this good? It's going to happen. Like, you're not going to make it happen any faster by complaining on the board about Brent Venables and OU and why isn't OU doing what they need to be doing. Everybody's doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
It just, you got to wait till it's announced.
They have a certain way they want to do it. It's not,
and, like, it's not like OU is.
There's a reason A&M rushed at it. It was A&M's opportunity. Yeah. Like, that, they saw it and that was their window, and that's cool, man. Like, I don't fault them. Good on them. They've clearly had a lot of success with it, but they had to. OU does not have to do well. Now, to stay on the level they're used to, yeah, I totally agree. It's going to have to happen, and it will. But people acting like OU's program is just down the drain right now. I'm like, stop.
Let me ask you something.
It's going to be fine.
How many kids, I mean, when you go out to see a kid, I mean, you go out and see guys like DJ Lagway, like, how many times has it come up just in conversations with you and recruits?
I mean, and I'll be honest, I am warming to the idea of that conversation. It's one of those things that it's so tied into recruiting now that I guess it is my business as much as anything I ask a recruit is my business. But at the same time, it's one of the, like,
it's
talking
like
about
facilities.
other people's money.
It's like facilities. It's like you don't feel bad asking a kid, like, well, like when 100%. OU before the South End Zone was built, I'm sure it came up, well, their facilities are really nice at A&M compared to OU's. Like, that was just part of the recruiting process to help you gather information on what is going to, how is this kid really feeling about Oklahoma? Are there some things that other schools are doing that are giving them an edge over Oklahoma? And NIL now has just become a part of that conversation, I think.
100%. And it's, again, I think it's just one of those things, like, in my mind, like, and Oklahoma boy, like, just like, you don't talk about other people's money. Like, you just don't do that. And so it's hard for my, I mean, and I admit it, like, it's just part of my programming. Like, I admit it, but at the same time, I'm like, it's part of the game. Like, and it is, and these kids are making decisions. And, you know, you referenced the article that Adam Friedman came out with earlier this week, and one guy came out and said, it's not really something that's big on my list. And then was like, but the food industry and restaurants have been active. And you're like, okay, so he's not really pushing that hard, but he's not upset about it either. Like, that's okay. And that was one of 8 guys he spoke to off the record, kind of asking what the offers have looked like. And one guy, you know, talked about hundreds of, I think, $200,000 over the span of 4 years. And honestly, Carey, like, I was listening to another podcast today, and the host said something along those lines, like, this is gonna normalize. Like, there's gonna become basically a market. Like, this, you know, we think this guy is a 3-year starter at outside linebacker. He's worth X per 4 years. And it's gonna be almost like NFL free agency. Like, they're just gonna be, okay, maybe that one team's really willing to overpay for this because they think they're a receiver away from a national championship or whatever, you know, but I don't think the $8 million Nico Iamaleava, who, I mean, we don't know that that's him, quote unquote.
I was going to say, that's kind
at Tennessee.
Yeah. Taboo for you to do that.
You know, come on.
You're going to get kicked out of
we know what it is.
You're going to get kicked out of the recruiting publisher pool.
Oh, I know. I love how everybody, like, just has to play dumb about it. I'm like, that story broke within, 48 hours of him committing. Yeah, we couldn't guess who that was. And, like, it's fun. Like, I get if the kid doesn't want to publicize it, but we don't have to play stupid either. Like, I mean, it is what it is, and that's fine. Like, that's cool. But I've said it over and over again. I just don't see the market sustaining that. I don't think
it's not sustainable,
realistic.
No.
And and like it's splashy right now, and everybody's excited about it and all that sort of stuff. But when A&M spends all that money that they spend on their class, and then it goes out and is probably 9-4 this year, the booster's going to be like, what the hell? And they shouldn't be. I get that those guys are just freshmen, but these are boosters. They're alumni. They are not rational about these things. That's not the way that works. And so there will be a lessening. Like, it will just happen because people act like this money goes in there and then it's just there forever. No, you've got to refill the coffers over and over and over again. And I don't think people are going to do that for a wildly risky investment.
It's very strange. I mean, just thinking about it in terms of, you know, how we do it, because it's like with anything, like, for example, here's a little inside baseball. Like, we have a new sponsor coming on board. And I would assume probably next week we'll talk about it. It's a cool sponsor. Excited to have them. Dead Soxy's been a sponsor for a long time, but we just haven't really taken on sponsors because we've been doing so much stuff. And I've been like, look, I don't want to take you on as a sponsor because I can't really make sure that you're taken care of the way you need to until I get the office done, until I get everything built. Like, then it's kind of like with interns. Like I mentioned, like, you know, we'll be doing intern stuff, and I have all these people beating down my door. And you kind of learn a lot about people, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But so people will send me, hey,
yes, that needs to be shared.
I want to intern, like, and I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. Let me get back to you because we got to get everything built first, and we're close to being done to at least having a workable studio that we can produce stuff out of. But until I get to that point, until I know how everything's set up, you know, how our audio network is, our video network, what we're going to need for producers or operators and, you know, sound guys, video guys, camera operators, all that stuff. Like, I have to make a list. Like, right now, all my punch lists are, okay, order this, test this. I wish I had my list in front of me. I'd just go down it for you. But it's all these little things I'm trying to check out. Like, this week it was go to the screen printer and get your, first it was redo your logo in Adobe Illustrator, then take it to the screen printer, then order the new hats, get your t-shirt line started. So like things like that. Like, I'm going down these punch lists, and some of it's with equipment, like get the movers to move your main workstation to the office. Like, that's where all my time is. It's not hiring interns. So, and it's not bringing on new advertisers. And we could bring on more advertisers, but I just don't have the time yet to handle that. And I could bring on advertisers, but they'd be like, you never call us back. You suck. We don't want to advertise anymore. So I'd rather kind of just keep everyone at bay than take more on than I'm capable of handling. So, I'm getting all these things about interns, and trust me, I leave my DMs open and I welcome anything, but sometimes just know, like, if I don't answer you back, it's because that's not high on my list of priorities, and I have to get stuff done, or else, I'm just wasting time and spinning wheels. So this one kid says, hey, I'm at this one school. I want to transfer to OU. I want to be an intern for you. And 6 days later, I hadn't answered, and he sent me back something just saying, awesome, thanks. Like, screw you for not answering me. And I just thought, like, wow, there's a kid I can check off my list that's never going to work here.
That's the best thing to ensure that no one is ever going to hire you. Like, don't
be a
do
smart
that.
ass.
That is so, like,
you just say,
and don't get me wrong, like, yes, hey man, I know you're busy. I was just checking back in.
Exactly, that's how you handle it.
There's a million ways to say that without being a snarky little bitch.
And several people that I know are serious candidates to be interns, that's how they've handled it. Like, I have guys that like, hey, I know you told me, it might be until June or July till you're ready to do anything, but I just wanted to check in and see how things are going. And I'll send them a detailed list about, I'm here. This is where we are with everything. It's probably another month at least until I'm ready to consider this. Like, that's the way to handle it. If you're young and you want to get in this business, be persistent.
And mark it on your calendar.
Yeah, be persistent.
Like in a month, I'm going to hit Carey back. Yep.
And don't be a dick. Like, don't make it out like you're more important, than I am, or that me getting my studio built is. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't hit you back within 6 days for your request to come work for me without knowing anything about you or what type of skill level you have, or if you're even competent at all. But you're saying awesome.
You're
thanks.
You're an intern.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may someday be the publisher of this site. Maybe you do such great work that you just climb the ladder, and Carey and I just
we turn it over to you.
All that we've done to you. Yes. Maybe you're that. But you're starting as an intern, and before we've even decided to pay you very little money, let's all just be honest about what an intern is. Before we've even done that, you're already giving us fucking headaches. No, I don't need you. Like, stop. Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, I don't understand how anyone thinks that's a sound way to operate.
I mean, our new guy that we're getting ready to announce, it'll be the first week or week and a half of July, and we'll have the announcement. It's all, he's moved to Norman. He's leaving his fiance behind. So it's, Josh would be proud of me. I'm like, hey, take this time. You guys spend time together. I know it's going to be hard being away from people. So, he's got 4th of July
you over the next 6 months.
Yeah, your life's going to be a living hell as soon as August gets here. So just take it easy. And plus, Josh won't be able to operate his equipment. He's going to drive you crazy. Sometimes his mic won't even be turned on. So you're going to have to. Your job is to deal with that, so I don't have to anymore. Like that.
Yes.
That in itself will make him want to quit probably. But no, it's like he sends me stuff all the time, and we talk. And it's almost like he's worried that he's letting me down if he's not here by this date or that date. Like, that's who I want to work for. It's people that actually are considerate and care and, think about other people besides themselves. And that's hard to find in the media business sometimes.
100%. Like that. And I would say that of all 4 people involved in this site, full time right now. Like, everybody cares. Like, they don't want, like, Bob doesn't want to not get some, he knows the second a guy commits, Bob's like, hey, I can't do it. I'm at a swim practice, or I'm at something. Like, he lets me know that he can or can't write the little quick commitment story that he does every time. But if Bob's around, he's writing the damn thing, and he doesn't have to be asked. He just does it. He knows that's the deal. And, Eddie is going to be like, okay, what video stuff can we do? Like, there's a knowledge, like, in it, some of that is just familiarity, but that is also, you want to do your part. Like, and so again, I'm talking to, I know we've got a lot of college students and stuff like that listen. That's part of why we got a big response to the intern call.
Yeah.
It is,
it's career advice for you, which You know,
Yes.
you don't get that from a lot of places. People, I mean, you're in the dark. I understand that. But being a dick to people that you want to work for is not going to help you.
Well, and you also have to understand who you're talking to. We're a small business. Like Carey is, you know, our chief technical officer. He's our chief accountant. Like, he's got about 7 different hats to wear. So, like, you got to bear with us. We don't have someone who can be like, well, I can't take that call right now. I'm going to hand you over to our, you know, financial officer or what. Like, it's all the same people. It's all doing the same shit. So
press 1 to
you
talk
have to understand and
press
bear with
1
us a
if
little
you
bit.
need
Yes.
a bill paid. That call comes to me. Press 2 if you can't access the website. That comes to me.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Press. By the way,
is...
there's 2 things about Bob. First off, F you. You have set the culture where swim class means you have no life, and Bob has taken you to task. Bob has, I believe this is the 4th straight week that he's missed the podcast because Eddie's in Omaha, you're in Houston, and your times don't mix and match. But yes. Bob right now has an impossible schedule because he's doing swim classes, which he doesn't have a pool. That's another thing. I don't know why he needed it anyway. You don't have a pool either, though. Although you'd think that you would.
You have to teach.
Considering that you live in such a nice neighborhood. That's
such a palatial neighborhood. Sure.
We got to get that radio theater started again. And the other thing is, I really feel like Bob might be upset at me because since Eddie's been in Omaha, I have taken great care to look at all of his articles and edit them. And I did that with Bob when he first started, but then I was just kind of like, you know what the you're doing? I don't need to babysit your articles anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like Bob's maybe a little jealous. Like, I remember when Carey used to care about my stories. So, Bob, if you're listening, Bob won't listen to this. Let's be honest.
Bob would probably be the best editor in
he would be. He would be.
Foursome.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. You know how it is. Even if you're good and you write a good story, having somebody else look at it is always. And see, that goes back to us being a small business. Like, we don't have a copy editor. We don't have newsflash newspapers don't really have those anymore either. But yeah, normally you would want someone in the School of Journalism is going to call and say you can't have any of our interns once they hear this. But normally you would want to have someone. You would always have someone look over your work because if you're not a writer, you don't really get this. But sometimes you get into your own little world and you read your own writing as it isn't really written. Like, it's like if you say something and you say it wrong, like my mom will say like poosh instead of push. Kind of like people say measure instead of measure. And if you don't, you hear it in your head and you don't realize you're saying it weird. And writing's kind of the same way. But anyway. All right.
I was going to say, like, and you'll also get into, like, I don't know, some reference in a story, and the way you the way you got there in your brain makes sense.
Right.
But I'll go back and read it the next day. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I know it doesn't, but at the time I was writing, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know how I got there, but someone who wasn't involved in that internal conversation has no fucking idea what I'm talking about. So
it's like I tell you all the time, like, dumb it down for, when you start talking about kids, you might just mention their last name. I'm like, Josh. Is this an offensive guy, defensive guy? People need to know this. Like, and sometimes you write.
I will say, I feel like I've improved on that.
You have.
I feel like I've gotten better about that. Yeah,
but I think what you're saying
not
is
wrong. It's still a problem.
What you're saying is you are writing for yourself in your own mind a lot of times, and unless you can get out of that and read a sentence and say, well, the general sports fan would not really understand what I'm talking about.
Well, like writing the scoop, and you get into, that's real minutia stuff.
Yeah.
And it's real hard sometimes to make it broad because the scoop is that his uncle's aunt is a friend of this guy's sister's cousin. And you're like, God bless. It's so wordy and it's hard to draw it out and make it a kind of single thought. And then you end up with like 4 paragraphs that just confuse the shit out of everybody. So yeah, that's me.
All right, there's your media business podcast, your Scoop Business podcast. I know, Josh, that the coaches are taking no official visits this weekend. It's their time to kind of get away, well deserved. And I know there's not a lot out there, but let's just talk a little bit before we get out of here, just about the what's kind of getting your attention in recruiting right now?
Well, I think one of the first things you notice is, Oklahoma did make a new offer. They did have someone on campus yesterday. Heath, and I'm not sure how to say this last name, Ozada, something like that. A guy out of Snoqualmie, Washington, a place I have been is absolutely beautiful, but we won't get into all that. He is a big offensive tackle, guy that is visiting Stanford officially this weekend, and there has been some talk that he might pull the trigger, but he's been to Oklahoma a couple of times now. He has family that is connected. I believe one of his parents went to UCO. I've heard some story. I won't say all of this is concrete, but there is absolutely a familial connection to the state of Oklahoma. And so I am kind of sifting through that, planning to talk to him a little bit later today. But this is a guy, I think it is a response. And I had some people ask me, is this Caden Green? Have they lost Caden Green? No, I don't think that's it at all. I think this is a Welcome Formby. This is Bryson Sanders. This is Oklahoma finding their next move and making sure they are ready if things don't go right with Peyton Kirkland and Logan Howland and maybe even Caden Green. I mean, I think Caden Green's about as sure a bet as is out there for Oklahoma in the 2023 class, but recruiting happens, stuff gets wild. So I'm not going to say anything's done, but I like where OU is a lot for him. So I think that's kind of interesting. I am about to, as soon as we finish the pod here, I'm probably about 20, 30 minutes out from finishing my most recent offer update, which the last one was on May 9th. They have made 47 offers since then. So it has taken me a little while to produce this content while doing other stuff. But, again, they continue to be active. I think it's very clear they are still trying to find some answers at corner in the 2023 class. I think they really would like to hit on Josiah Wagner from Washington, the kid that came down and camped, and that seems to really like Jay Valai. I think there's a really good relationship there. I think Oklahoma is among his top 2 or 3. I don't get the impression he's a guy that is bound to stay in the Pacific Northwest. He's a guy that's going to go to UW no matter what happens. I think he's pretty open. One of the interesting things last night was Derek LeBlanc, the big defensive lineman from Florida that Todd Bates and Brent Venables have been on almost from day one, put out something along the lines of, I'm going to commit pretty soon, and is trying to put an announcement together or something. I don't know how valid it is. I haven't talked to Derek yet. It happened, like I said, kind of middle of the night. Almost like, did his sister get a hold of his phone, is messing with him or something? It makes you wonder because it's real out of the blue. And he had already said he was going to delay it into the fall. And now you kind of wonder if maybe things are turning around. But, Oklahoma's right there with him. I think it's OU and Florida probably as the 2 primary that kind of battle for his commitment. So there are some interesting things. But like you said, now Oklahoma's about to head into this dead period until the end of July. A lot of guys, a lot of coaching, staff around the country, not just OU. This is when they take their vacations. They go do stuff with their families. And so you're going to see a little bit of a lull here. Things will kind of calm down. But I think as far as commitments, this is going to be one of the busiest months OU has. I think you're going to see a lot of activity. Caden Green's going to announce on July 8th. You've got Peyton Kirkland going on July 23rd. A lot of other guys like Logan Howland, you're expecting a decision before too terribly long. You could really run down the list. There are a lot of guys. If you said, I think right now OU, they are currently at, having trouble pulling up so I can make sure and be certain. But if you told me they were to double their commitments the next month, I wouldn't be shocked. I think that's very possible between now and August 1st. And they're currently at 7. I think a lot of activity is going to come in July. And really, especially then as you get into September, because guys, you're seeing more and more guys wanting to be done by the start of their season with now that they can take the official visits in the spring and the summer, and there's a lot more familiarity. They just want to be able to be high school kids again and play their season, chase state championships and all that stuff. One last thing. I know I've kind of run on here, but this was something I'm finding. This is a new trend I'm starting to see that I think is really interesting. We've talked for years and years about guys, maybe being that last official visit's the way to go. You get that last look. You're the last thing a kid's thinking about before he decides. And I still think if you're talking about in season and into December, I think that's the way to go. I still believe that. But if you're talking about guys who are going to decide in the summer, I am hearing more and more guys talk about the fatigue of all these visits in a 1 month span. Because when you talk about during the season, okay, I took my first official in September. I took my last official in early December. Well, you're spreading it out over months and months. If you take 4 or 5 official visits in the month of June,
Jesus,
that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to deal with. Like Colton Vasic's taking a lot. Caden Green was going to take all 5. A few of those kind of dropped out. Talking to some of these recruits and their parents, there's a lot of, man, there's just no downtime. We go on these visits and there's always somebody talking to you. And like, that's great and we respect it. But man, you get back and it's almost like you just want to not do anything and not talk to anyone for 2 days because it's all you've been doing. And, especially when you get to a kid that's kind of naturally introverted, kind of maybe is not the guy that needs to be on social media and is going to be out in front of everybody all the time. I think it's a grind. And so there's a part of me that thinks maybe in the summers having that first official visit, especially, like I said, if it's going to be a kid that runs the gauntlet in June and just tries to knock it all out and be done by the start of his season, I think that first visit might actually be the one because by the time they're at 3rd, 4th, 5th visit, they're exhausted. And they've seen it all. They've done it all. It's kind of, just a pattern because nobody's doing things that are that different from one to the next. And obviously you want to connect with the coaches and that's going to matter. But I think having a kid that's open-minded and excited about the visit may be as important as anything else.
Very good. I'm trying to think there's any loose ends I'd thought about, but I think he covered it all. So, all right, I think that's going to do it. Looking forward to, like I said, with Eddie, we'll figure out what we want to do pod-wise as they hit the championship series. But we do know that it's going to be, well, we don't know who they're going to play still because Arkansas won last night. And that's good for Oklahoma because that means Ole Miss and Arkansas have to keep using their pitchers. And they'll be completely fresh for the championship series. So, Josh, I know you're into baseball. I'm sorry you missed out on the baseball talk. But you've been a good sport throughout. Yeah. I mean, you're commenting as much as anybody in the war room.
The schedule has just not worked out for Eddie and I, but like I said, it's been fun, man. It was fun. What I think is so wild is, there again, and I know OU has this whole the Davids thing, but they're just bashing people's brains right now. Like, it's not like, oh, they snuck by in that one or they just got out of there. Like, there was a story I saw in the, I think it was I don't know if it was like the OU Sports Illustrated side or what it was, but it was something like OU escapes Notre Dame rally to win. I was like, rally? What rally are we talking? Like, I mean, it wasn't like OU blew them out of the water, but I never felt like down the stretch, boy, OU's in real danger here. Like, that didn't really cross my mind. I thought maybe a little bit late in that last A&M game on Wednesday, but I just didn't get that feeling at all. And it's certainly nothing like the Ole Miss Arkansas final, first semifinal game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Just, I mean, it looked like Arkansas was going to blow that. So
I will say this. I think I would rather see OU play Ole Miss because Arkansas's bats are just ridiculous. It'll be interesting to see because I think Arkansas can pull this thing out. They're just that explosive offensively. And if you watch that Stillwater series, I mean, those dudes can hit, man. They're probably the one team I would say has been hotter than OU with the bats during the regionals. I mean, really, OU's pitching has just been phenomenal. I mean, that's been the story. It's just been great. So, all right,
that'll be a wild matchup. That offense against Oklahoma's pitching, if that's how it goes.
This has been, without a doubt, the most baseball talk. Here's the bad thing for you, Josh. When Bob finally comes back to the pod, he's going to have a lot of basketball to talk about. A lot.
I know. I can skip that week. I'm going to go to swim classes that week. I'm going to be out. So
you'll get fake COVID that week.
No, I was. He tweeted about some of the visitors coming in, like they've got a top 10 guy on campus right now, or this week, or I mean, like they're making some moves in high school recruiting. I know the portal hasn't gone quite the way they wanted it to, but man, the high school recruiting seems to be going quite well for Porter Moser.
Yeah, it seems like he's doing pretty well. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back again next week. Don't forget SoonerScoopStore.com. New stuff coming soon, but we got lots of good stuff in there right now. And remember that Isaiah Thomas merch. It's closeout. Want it out of there. $8 for t-shirts, $15 for hoodies. Go snatch that stuff up while it's still there, because it's good stuff. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys back here again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast from SoonerScoop.com.